If you feel rusty and uncertain about your trumpet playing abilities, this video is for you. Do you remember playing your trumpet in school, sharing experiences with your bandmates and the joy it brought you? Now that you're coming back to trumpet, you're discovering that things are going slow and progress is harder than you remember. You're not alone in this. It happens to most people because becoming good at a musical instrument takes time to master. It's just that simple. If you're a patient person that's not afraid to put in the work, then you're going to reach your goals on trumpet. While it can be pretty tempting to pick up your trumpet and start playing your favorite song straight out of the case, practice a little discipline and get your routine in first. But today, I want to focus in on a very specific part of your trumpet playing. This single part of your trumpet playing tells a lot about you, especially to the trained ear. This single part of your trumpet playing tells all of your business. It tells if you're experienced or inexperienced, young or old, or in between. It tells if you're likely to be flexible or rigid. It can give insight as to if you'll be a player of great stamina or if you're wearing out. It's the reason why experienced teachers will tell a student, play a single note. How about we start on G? The single part of your trumpet playing that I'm locking in on today is sound. Back in the day, my parents had a rotary telephone. If you don't know what that is, then look it up. But the real reason why this is significant is because this was roughly 10 to 15 years before caller ID. Before cell phones, caller ID was a little digital box that could connect to your telephone line and it would telegraph who was calling before you answered the phone. Today, it's a built-in feature included in every cell phone, so it doesn't seem like a luxury, but it is. But back then, we got very good at being able to identify who was calling us from the first hello by the sound of their voice. Every once in a while, you may be a little thrown off by siblings, for example, but for the most part, you knew your friend Leon from your friend Timothy or your Aunt Joy from your Aunt Vita. And you most certainly knew the voice of your mother, your father, and your grandparents. There was no way you're going to mistake one of them for anybody else. My question to you is why and how? How did you know those specific voices from everyone else? And why did you recognize them from all others? I'll tell you how. You heard those voices over and over again, at least. And the voices you knew more intimately, you knew because you spent more time with those people. And no matter how closely another person may sound to your mom, for example, there was no fooling you because you know the voice of your mother. That's because you and your mom spent a lot of time heart to heart. So my point is this: your voice identifies you from everyone else. Well, guess what? Your voice on trumpet is your sound, and it identifies you. Your sound sets you apart from everyone else on the planet. Now, sure, it may be imitated, but never duplicated. And the reason for this is because your sound is the audible manifestation of your soul. I didn't learn this from a teacher directly. This is something I came to know. You hear me? With this in mind, you have got to stop trying to sound like Miles Davis or Chet Baker or Fats Navarro and everybody else. Why? Because you're one of a kind and the world needs the original you. There's a story about Miles Davis, and I think I heard it from Eddie Henderson. And the abbreviated story is that Miles Davis was a house guest of Eddie Henderson's family. Eddie was studying trumpet, a young man at the time, maybe even a boy. And he played a transcription of a Miles Davis solo for Miles Davis himself. After Eddie played the solo, Miles told Eddie, "That one's mine. Play your own." Now, I gave you an abbreviated version of the story, but that's the main point of the story. And so, yes, we imitate those in our environment to learn how to speak. And the other side of the same coin is that we need to graduate to a place that we are comfortable being ourselves and sharing intimate parts of ourselves with the world. Here's a concept that you must come to know. Sound begins in the mind with your concept of it. Sound is the combination of your life experiences wrapped up in a trumpet bell. That's why I say that sound is the audible manifestation of your soul. So that's the first part. Thinking about sound is the first part. There are a few times in my life that my trumpet sound changed. First was the first time I heard Orbert Davis live. Orbert Davis is a Chicago trumpet player. And as it turns out, Orbert was the first professional trumpet player that I had ever heard live. And so that was my introduction to what a trumpet could actually do. Then I spent a lot of time with Miles Davis and with Marcellus after that. Eventually, I got into Louis Armstrong, and I liked it. Along the way, I traveled the world. I met a girl, I got married, had children, and on and on. Then my own sound emerged from all of these experiences. I'm talking about sound right now, and if you're a parent, then you understand what I'm saying. Why? Because watching your children grow up happens slowly over time, but at the same time, it happens in the blink of an eye, right under your nose, and that's how sound is developed. Your children have a personality all their own from day one, but it's developed over the years and shows itself in various ways, in various environments. So regarding your sound concept, you must think about sound. Feed your mind good trumpet sounds. Become comfortable with who you are as a person if you're not already. And hear your sound loud and clear in your mind so that it can come out of your trumpet bell the way you imagine, in a way that you feel good about it. That is sound concept. The next part of your sound is purely physical, which leads me to one of my maxims of trumpet playing, which is my body is the primary instrument. Once you have a solid concept of sound, you must have the physical ability to produce the sound that you imagine. This is why a trumpet routine is so important. If you need a solid trumpet routine, I have created one for you, and you can download it right now. The link is in the description near this video. Get yours right now. Download it. So the natural question is, how do we develop the body to produce the trumpet sound that we hear in our imagination? And that's a good question. The short answer is your trumpet routine practiced in good form will get you there. But there's so much in the details that we can't talk about in one video. But I'll tell you this, the reason that I say my body is the primary instrument is because anything that you want to produce on the trumpet can first be produced in the body at some level. Once upon a time, I was on a job where we were basically sight reading the performance when I noticed the trumpet player next to me was fingering the music and he was blowing puffs of air out of his mouth. It was kind of like things like that. And I could see what he was doing, but I decided to ask him, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm blowing wind patterns." And I said, "Why?" And he told me that it's something that Professor Bill Felder taught him. If you know who that is, he's one of the world-renowned trumpet teachers, great teachers of the instrument and the history of the instrument. And he believed, Professor Bill Felder believed that if you could get your wind to produce at a certain level, then you'd have an easier time playing the music in front of you. Ah, a man who understands my maxim. My body is the primary instrument. This is why so many great players have come to use singing in their preparation. Singing is a bridge between your sound concept and the physical body. You see, the two need each other. You can't produce sound without the body, obviously. But you also need to have a solid idea of sound, or your sound will be underdeveloped. So, when you practice, especially if you're relatively new to the trumpet or if you're returning after many decades away, you need to have a healthy mindset around practice. In other words, ditch the instant gratification mindset. That is not how trumpet playing works. Not at all. As long as you keep the horn on your face, you'll be all right. And I don't mean that in a literal sense. That would be impossible. But practice more often than you don't practice. And don't sweat it when life happens and you have to start later in the day than expected. And don't sweat it if you need to miss a day altogether. Just get back on the saddle as soon as possible. Spend time in your new trumpet routine that you're going to download below the video and allow the act of practicing to change your body for trumpet playing over time. Does this make sense? If you do this, you can't lose. All right? Click the like button if this video has helped you. Remember to download your routine. The link is below in the description. And if you want more tips on how to get a better trumpet sound, click the link in the video on the screen here for a series I created to solve that very problem. In the series, I demonstrate exercises that will help you. I'll see you in the next video.